put the record on. All right. Hi, everyone. This is your instructor for this track, Critical Digital Pedagogy in STEM-H at the Digital Pedagogy Lab. My name is Clarissa Sorensen, and I have here today with us Maria Gallardo-Williams. Do you like to roll the R?
Pretty good, yeah.
Okay, all right. It was halfway decent.
From Mexico, roll those R's.
I'm an R roller when I've had more coffee, so I apologize for my half-assed R. R rolling. So she's here with us today to talk about online labs, the STEM classroom, and how we apply critical pedagogy in both. All right. So Maria, I will turn it over to you. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I am Maria Gallardo-Williams, and I am a teaching professor in the chemistry department at NC State University. I've been the director of the organic chemistry labs at NC State for 18 years. And I am also a fellow in our Office of Faculty Development, and my job there is to help other people with their Scholarship of Teaching and Learning projects. So I get to think very hard about how to help other people reflect on their own pedagogy, which has really been very helpful to me.
That is awesome. I did not know that you did that. So I'm thrilled that you introduced yourself. All right. So what are you doing right now in terms of online labs? Like, where is that for you at NC State?
Okay. So we at NC State were very fortunate that we had spent a fair amount of time before all this disruption came along, developing a really strong set of online materials for students that were not able to be present in the lab. Mm-hmm. So the driver for that was, nobody knew that a pandemic was coming, right? So we're not.
Right.
We did not know.
You didn't forecast this, Maria?
We did not know, but we did know that we have students that normally during a non-pandemic situation still can't come to lab.
Yeah.
For various reasons, right?
Right.
And those reasons could range from any kind of disability to a military deployment, to pregnancy, to a broken leg, to your boyfriend broke up with you. Mm-hmm. I honestly don't care. I don't like to question people about their motives for coming or not coming. Mm-hmm. I respect that sometimes you're going to be unable to be in the lab. And so we had created a set of virtual reality labs that we took a very long time to make. Mm-hmm. Because virtual reality is hard, and making a good virtual reality lab turned out to be extremely hard. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of fun. This is one of the good things about being in a very large university, is that we could draw on expertise from many different places. Mm-hmm. We have a very strong distance education learning department, which not only provided me with funding, but much more importantly, with a team of experts. And that team ranged from game designers to virtual reality production team to instructional designers. So it wasn't just little old me with a GoPro. It was a whole team.
Awesome.
And so we had developed that ahead of time, and we had actually piloted this and tested it with actual students. No students were harmed in the making of this. Students actually love it. And so when they told us you have to go online, by Monday, we were like, we're ready to go. We can deploy this to everybody.
Yep.
It took me about 30 minutes to figure out that all of a sudden, we all had become disabled students, right?
Right.
Could physically be in the lab. And so taking that tool that was developed for accessibility was perfect, because now this was accessible to everybody. Right. And it's pretty interesting to see how attitudes change. Mm-hmm. Because this had always been considered by my department as Maria's pet project, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It wants to make the lab accessible to everybody. Isn't that cute? And it turned from that into, oh my God, we cannot come to lab. Where is Maria right now?
Yeah.
So I became very popular very fast. And I'm still coping with my newfound fame. So
it's amazing what a pandemic will do, right?
It's tough to be famous. But yeah, never let a good crisis go to waste, right?
Exactly. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's where it came from. It came from trying to, I always told my team, because we had a lot of setbacks along the way. Like, you really don't know how hard it is to make a virtual reality experience.
Oh, I can imagine.
And there was a time when we almost lost our funding, and all kinds of things happened. And I kept telling them the whole time, we know that we're doing this for the right reasons. Right. We know that we're being rigorous. We know that we're putting out a product that we're proud of.
Right.
Yes, it's hard, but we need to keep going. Right. And then once the pandemic hit, it was like all of the effort and all of the, frustration and everything, it was like, it was gone. It's like, it's fine. We did a good thing. Awesome. Here it is. And then we did another good thing, which is the one that I'm most proud of, and we opened it to everybody. So we made it accessible
to
everybody. It's open access. It doesn't cost a thing, and anybody can use it. And as of right now, there are 25 universities that have officially told us that they're using some of our labs. And I know there's many more that are using them and haven't told us, because we have user data. So we know.
We probably are going to use them at CNM.
So that has been really interesting. That switch from, this is a very niche product that nobody's ever going to see, to everybody's going to see it. So we're very glad that we took the time to do a good job.
That was awesome. That is so awesome. Oh man. And you've talked about so much about critical pedagogy already, but so let me just open it up to the idea of, since the whole purpose of the virtual reality labs was for disability and for people who literally could not come to lab for whatever reason. How do you integrate that into your online STEM classroom? And you can choose lecture, lab, or both.
Well, I mean, in our case, I'm going to start with the lab, because it's really what's weighing most on my mind right now. I'm not teaching a lecture in the summer. So the lab is like, I live and breathe every hour of every day, right?
Yep.
First of all, I'm so glad that we took the time to make a product that is not only accessible, but we took the time to represent all kinds of people, right? So our VR labs have TAs. You have a TA that's all yours for the duration of the lab. And for each lab, you get a different TA. You get a person who looks different, sounds different. And we have people of all the ethnicities that are represented at NC State, all, sexual orientations, gender, everything. So we try to make our TA pool as diverse as possible on purpose. That actually wasn't hard at all, because it turns out that our TA pool is diverse. The people that are interested in getting involved in this kind of projects are diverse. So it's not like I had to go and look under a rock to find diverse TAs. These are my best TAs. Right. And they just came forth and helped with this, so that was great. And what I tried to do, I mean, the beauty of these labs, which I did not anticipate, is that by trying to make the lab accessible to everybody, what you're doing is you're actually opening it up in a way that addresses all kinds of differences in, the way people express themselves, the way people interact with the material. So not only is the lab shot by a diverse crew, and we're like the UN of crews. And not only does it have a representation of all the TAs that we could find from everywhere, it also will interact with people in different ways, right? So for example, when we did our pilot project, we had a survey, right? Because everybody has to have a survey. Sure. And we asked people to answer questions, did you like it? What did you like the best? What would you change? The usual assessment stuff. And then one member of our team who came from the social sciences was very adamant that we had to have an open mic portion. Just let people talk, just let people talk and tell us. And apparently this is something that people do in usability design in other disciplines. And I had never heard of it. I was like, what is an open mic? How are we going to put that on the table? Just answer questions so I can put them on a table. Right? Exactly. Where's my spreadsheet? That's how a quantitative brain works, right? How many columns, how many rows, how are we going to present this? So we did have the open mic portion, which I'm going to confess right now that I call that our poetry reading section. I was against open mic. In that portion, students started to talk about the things that were important to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we saw a lot of male students comment at length how this was just like a video game, you know, how it reminded them of, you know, Mortal Kombat or whatever, but for organic chemistry, which is fine, you know, that's what it elicits in you. That's okay.
Right.
And then because it was an open mic and it was open for a very long time, we started to hear voices of some of the women in the class saying, you know, I've never had a TA talk to me for so long. Mm-hmm. And that shook me. I mean, what do you mean you never had TA talk to you for so long, right? I trained all my TAs to talk to everybody.
Right. Right.
But it turns out that when I started to think about it, and I started to think about my own experiences as a student, it's true that some TAs will talk to female students less. You know, I remember I had a partner in my physics lab, and we got along great, so we took all the physics classes together.
Sure.
And he was a male, and so our TA would always talk to him, and then he would tell me, and we would get it done, right? And that's not the way things are supposed to be.
Right.
You know, that's not okay.
Right.
The fact that I had this wonderful partner who translated everything that the TA said to me allowed me to get through physics, which is not my favorite subject, right?
Right.
But it's not okay.
Right.
That's not how I want my class to be, right?
Right.
And when I teach the class, I talk to everybody, but I have a lot of advantages in that. First of all, I'm an older woman, right? My students are very, very young. There's a big age gap in there that's going to insulate both sides from any, you know, atrocious behavior. Like they know I'm not trying to pick them up.
Right. I'm
like a mom. And I tell them in the beginning, I have kids your age. I really do.
Yeah.
So that's a layer of padding there, right?
Right.
And then I am Hispanic, and that you can miss that. So, you know, they have to interact with me as the Hispanic person that I am. And I'm very interested in their success, and I'm very interested in women and minority success. So I would apply myself and go above and beyond to talk to everybody.
Right.
But you may have a TA that is not coming from that same background, right?
Right.
I mean, a TA that is younger. You can't help being young. I mean, it just is who you are. That they don't have that benefit of the age gap that I might have, right? So this is one of those times when being older is actually better, and we should keep tab of those times because they're few, right? So you may have a TA that's not used to interacting with people from other ethnicities, which I am because I come from a very diverse culture, right? So maybe if you grew up in super white town, you know, North Carolina, and all of a sudden you're interacting with people from other ethnicities, with other accents, with other backgrounds. We have to recognize that it might be uncomfortable, right? The beauty of the online TA is that the online TA doesn't know who you are. So he or she cannot judge you. They cannot judge you. They cannot talk to you in a different way because you're a woman, because you're a minority, because you're whatever, you know, from Mars. They're going to address everybody the same. And we have curated the content so that we have removed like all racial suggestions, all gendered suggestions have been removed. You know, we try to use neutral words. We try to use positive language. And because the team is so big, we've caught a lot of those things, right? I'm as guilty as anybody of using terms that might not be perfect, you know, like man the desk. No, we don't man the desk. We staff the desk. You know, small difference, but to the ear, it makes a big difference, right? So because the team is so large, we cleaned up all that language. We cleaned up all the references that we're. So what you get is a very supportive TA who doesn't know who you are, and is going to treat you just the same no matter what you look like. And that elevates the conversation because we see it in the message boards for the class. Everybody's participating because everybody got the same information from the TA with the same enthusiasm, with the same amount of, you know, of dedication, if you would. So the discourse gets elevated because you get treated the same from the beginning. You know, everybody gets fed the same information in the same way. And so when we talk about it, you can see that you're hearing more voices now, and the conversation is not dominated by two white guys.
Right.
It's a lot more inclusive because everybody got the same opportunity.
Right.
You know?
Right. Wow.
So,
yeah, I can see
so
that.
That was a total surprise to us, and we would never have caught that without the open mic portion. So I will never make fun of the social sciences ever again.
Studying humans is hard.
It was just I mean, it was a transformative experience. Yeah. I actually transcribed some of those conversations myself, and I found myself thinking back to when I was in school and crying for how much better it could have been, right? And of course, I went to school way back in the dark ages when women were not supposed to.
When there wasn't the plague.
I don't know if I ever shared this with you, but my parents never expected me to graduate from college.
Oh no, really?
You know.
Okay, go.
Yeah, just go have fun. You know,
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, how different could it have been, right? And I think of all the friends that I had who dropped out of college and who actually didn't finish.
Yeah.
And I wonder how many times was it because somebody talked down to them. Somebody told them something that made them feel uncomfortable, right?
Right.
How many people have been weeded out of the system because somebody thought they didn't belong there?
Right.
People used to tell me that I didn't belong there all the time. And I was like, it's okay. I'm just here to have fun. My parents have no expectations. I'm fine. and that kept me going.
Right,
you know?
right.
The lack of expectations was actually a blessing. If they had high expectations and I kept being told that I didn't belong there, things may have turned out completely different.
Wow. I'm thinking about all of the cool social science type things that you could do with that open mic section, just to talk about internalized bias and internalized depression, the implicit bias and internalized depression, right? Like, we don't even think about how much we were not talked to in the midst of our classes. I mean, when I think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, they always talk to the men. Yeah. But that was just well, that is the way it is. I can have a voice if I scream and yell.
Yeah. And also the idea that, that you're interacting with a person in this virtual environment. I mean, when we started, I'll be the first one to admit, when we started the virtual reality project, I was very worried that it was going to be cartoonish and the TA was just going to stand there and move their arms like a little dinosaur and it was going to be like a cartoon. And it's not. It's a really intensely personal experience, right?
Nice.
But it's personal in a way that is not judgy because the TA definitely doesn't know who you are.
Right.
And I had a student that, this happened the semester before we had to go online. So fall of 2019, I had a student in one of the labs who was transitioning genders, right? And so she was not coming to lab. And I happened to notice this because I was teaching the lab across the hall. And I noticed that she had stopped coming. So she wasn't in my lab section. She was in one of my TA's lab section. But we talked about how she had missed a couple labs. And once you miss a couple labs, you're done.
You can't make that up.
Makeups. And so I reached out to her and I said, hey, I noticed you haven't been coming. Is there anything we can do to help you? And so she opened up and told me that she was going through a very intense period of dysphoria, where she was very concerned about what people thought about the way that she looked. Apparently this is very normal for people that are transitioning. I didn't know this. I learned a lot from this student.
Very cool.
And I said, well, that seems to be something that we could address if you transfer to the online section of the lab. And she didn't know there was an online section of the lab. So I explained the process. And so she did. And she loved it. She got an A+ in the lab. It was a great experience. And she said, I put on the virtual reality helmet and I forget about my body, what I look like, what I might look like. There's this wonderful TA in there guiding me through the whole thing, not judging me, not looking at me, not wondering if I'm a man or a woman.
Right.
And I thought, that's really powerful.
Yeah, it really is.
The fact
really
that
is.
we could help. And I thought, if we only help this person, that's enough. Like,
Right.
we spent all this money, but here's a student that's going to proceed towards graduation because we got over this hurdle.
Right.
She would not have been able to graduate if she didn't complete the lab.
Right.
And now, and she may have dropped out and and I'm not saying we changed lives, but sometimes we do, and you know this.
Yeah.
Sometimes you feel like you touch somebody's life, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what it was like. I mean, it was this space where she could just think about the lab,
right,
without any other concerns, without, like, literally being removed from your bodily self. Nobody cares what you look like. We accept you, and here it is.
Right.
So
that's awesome. That I really, it'd be such interesting case studies to see where this goes.
Yes.
Because honestly, when I started making videos, I mean, the unexpected consequences of what you do, and not unexpected consequences, but benefits is really more than what I want. Because like when I started making videos in like 2006 or 2007, I never made them for the purpose of folks to be able to do ESL. Like people who had English as a second language, I did not expect that. I didn't make it with that purpose. I didn't think about that at the time. I was just making it to be a teaching aid. And then lo and behold, all of these, folks who were like, we watch these because it helps us get the language. And I was like, and that was true of people who had ES, and that was true of people who just didn't understand chemistry, because chemistry is like its own second language.
Yep.
And so I was like, wow, I didn't expect that. So I bet you will have a lot of unexpected benefits from all of this.
But you have to have the space to listen to those things, right? So that's where my approach to where do I put this on the table sometimes limited me. And, and it was really important that I talked to other folks in other disciplines. And it was really lucky that we had such a big team, because I would not have thought of an open mic. I would not have thought of transcribing and coding those answers. And it turns out that that's where the good stuff was.
It is.
Because in the table, we know, people liked it. People learned. You can assess the heck out of anything.
Right.
That's fine. But it turns out that this is why they liked it. And they liked it for different reasons. Right. So it's pretty funny that a lot of, mainstream students were saying, we like it because we know this TA is right. We know this TA is not telling us a story. This is like the good stuff. Other people were like, we like it because the TA is just talking to us. I mean, what difference, right? Your expectations of a class.
Different experience.
What a difference. I mean, I like this because I'm going to ace the MCAT.
Right.
Because they treated me like a person.
Like a human being. Wow.
Oh my God.
That's insane. That's such a great project that you could just, you could just milk that for research projects like forever.
Yeah. I mean, the papers write themselves, right? Because the stuff that, and they don't write themselves, by the way. You have to write.
No, you actually had to do it.
But yeah, I mean, there's just so much to mine in there, and it also brings to mind the idea that, this is such an ethical way to teach people, which, and it's ethical in a couple different ways, right? First of all, we don't spend any solvents. Our carbon footprint is very, very small. Right now, I don't even drive to work. So whatever your computer is taking to do this little exchange of information, right now, that's our carbon footprint, which is awesome, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And the ethical part of, we're teaching everybody the same way.
Right.
I mean, we are reaching out to everybody the same way. We're being kind to everybody the same way. We're opening doors. I mean, there's no reason for any kind of student to not do well in this lab. You can't say your TA is neglecting you. You can't, I mean, you can say whatever you want to, but your TA is not neglecting you. Your TA is not treating you differently. Your TA is not discriminating against you. I mean, that's amazing to me. It's really to me, the boundaries of ethics are being pushed, right?
Right.
And after we have done this, can we go back to an in-person situation where not everybody's going to be treated the same way?
Right.
I mean, I don't know. Is that going to be ethical?
Right.
I have concerns.
Right. Right.
And I can see my chemistry friends wringing their hands and, no, we need to be back in the lab. We need to be touching the glassware.
Right.
You know what? Touching the glassware is great if that is your learning objective.
Right. Right.
If the learning objective is students must touch the glassware.
Right.
Objective is that, right?
Right. Right.
Then you need to accomplish that. That's not my learning objective.
Right. Right.
I mean, that's not anywhere in my book. So
right. No, I think that's absolutely true. How do you do the human component then? Because I know that you treat very, even though this was designed exceptionally well, there still are humans in the class as students. And so how do you deal with, like, if there's problems or thinking about those students as humans?
So we have actually a synchronous component to the lab, which is TA help sessions, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And so those are on Zoom right now.
Okay.
And they have to be because nobody can go to campus. But
right.
If we could have it in person. There's no reason why not. And what we always offer is, and this has been one of the great things about going online, is that every TA that we have doing the synchronous sessions is available to all the students.
Right.
But you can visit different TAs until you find one that you like.
Nice.
Or that,
that's
jives with your personality or whatever.
Yeah.
We do, because we don't have to be in the lab so much, we spend a lot more time training the TAs.
Right.
So like when we deploy them to these help sessions, they are actually really well prepared. They know what's going on. They have strategies for teaching different things to different people, working in groups, all of that. So the amount of problems, and I'm going to knock on wood here, has been minimal, right?
Yeah.
Because, and I can honestly say this is summer session 2, and right now everything seems to be really on track. Summer session 1, we still have some students that were a little bit confused after the spring turnover.
Yeah.
And I did have to take some of them in hand personally and have one-on-one Zoom sessions with them.
Sure.
Just to figure out where things were.
Yeah.
That's not a big deal. That's part of my job, and I don't, it's not. I love meeting with students, so that wasn't a problem. But the more time we take to train the TAs, the better it is. So the TA in the simulation is great, but your in-person TA is hopefully also great.
Right.
We have really spent a lot of time on language lately.
Yeah.
Appropriate ways to say things, appropriate ways to broker disagreements, ways that we can call on everybody when we're helping without being intrusive.
Right.
The idea that if somebody has their video off, that's okay. That's their prerogative. If somebody just come in and listen.
Right.
When we have in-person sessions, somebody can just come in and listen, right? They can come there and not say anything.
Right.
So it's okay to have your camera off. It's okay to not participate if you don't want to.
Sure.
But we have to have channels in case those people want to participate in a different way, right? So we have message boards, we have chats, we have, we even have open email, an open email policy where anybody can send an email at any time if they need help.
Nice.
And it will be routed to a TA. So it's not one size fits all, right?
Sure.
That's one of the things, but that's true in person as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
In an in-person class, you're going to interact with different students in different ways.
Right.
When in an online class, it's the same, except you're going to be on the FaceTime continuum.
Right.
I mean, it's just taking the interaction and just flattening it out, but it's the same interaction.
Yeah.
And you can be a nice person on Zoom, just like you can be a nice person in real life. So
right.
Nobody's taking that away.
Practice kindness, no matter where you are.
All the time. Yes, be kind, because you don't know what other people are going through.
Which brings us to, how do we break the critical pedagogy, the social justice, how are we unkind?
So how do we break it? we can break it in many different ways, right? We can break the technology, which is
Right.
our worst
Right.
nightmare.
Right.
You know? In fact, somebody pointed out to me that there was a broken piece in our technology because you cannot caption virtual reality.
Right.
You can't have captions floating around in the virtual reality space, right?
Right. Right.
So this summer, we actually came up with a caption alternative.
Oh, cool.
That is now on the website, side by side with the virtual reality videos.
Very
There
cool.
is the caption YouTube playlist.
Awesome.
One of this. So yes, we broke the technology and then we had to fix it. Another way in which you can break this is you can abuse it, right?
Right. Right.
Because the labs are online, Chegg has already put out answers to all our questions more than once. And so we keep having to change the questions and we keep having to, and because more people are using it, apparently that means that it's more profitable for online cheating companies to help. That's not helpful.
Right.
So we keep having to put out, new questions, and that's fine. That's part of the job. We assess and reassess as many times as needed. And then the biggest place in where we can break this is by being unkind. All of us, anybody at any point in time. I mean, I always tell my TAs, we are the teaching team for this. Our role here is to coach these guys to success, right?
Yes.
And if I'm unkind to the TAs, that communication will break down.
Right.
If TAs are unkind to their students or to me, that communication breaks down.
Right.
And then the students themselves have to be kind. I mean, and I don't use the word blessed very often. I'm not a religious person, but I've been so blessed with students' kindness. Students just reaching out to me to tell me, this was awesome. Thank you for doing this, right? Thank you for putting this out. But you can have a student that's unkind, and that can bring down a whole message board.
Right.
You have to be prepared to react.
Right.
You do have, as the owner of the course, you do have a delete button. If somebody says something particularly unkind, I have no problem squashing that and deleting.
Right.
I've only had to do that once. And I mean, that's a really good track record, I think.
Right.
So yeah, the easiest way to break this whole thing is to be unkind,
Yeah.
Just don't be unkind.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
When you had to squash that moment, did it ever come out the reason why that person was unkind? Did you have to call them on it and say, hey, this is not professional language or whatever?
Was very stressed. I think that the person was under a lot of stress.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to pat myself in the back here. I think I handled it well.
Okay.
I captured the comment. I immediately deleted it. And then I reached out to the student, and then a whole story unraveled about, how the student was having a really hard time.
Yeah.
Without getting into any personal details, it was a difficult situation.
Yeah.
And it was fixed, fixed to the extent that it could be fixed. So I'm not here to say that I've never been unkind. My God, I lose my temper once a day or once every 3 hours. It's just that finding that space where you can extend kindness to the other person, right?
Right.
Considering that you're stressed, I'm stressed too. Maybe we should have, and that's one of the beautiful things about teaching online. Maybe I don't have to reply right now.
Right. Maybe I could think about it.
Maybe I can take 10 minutes and have a cup of tea and consider what is the best way to say this.
Right.
Which I do take advantage of all the time, both online and in social media and in other places. Like, what is the kind way to reply?
Exactly.
Versus what does my hot-headed cowboy side wants to do? Yeah. So, give yourself the benefit of some time,
Yeah.
But other than that, I feel that we're all really trying very hard.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder if the person lashed out, whenever someone lashes out online at me, I always think to myself, have I created safe space for them to be able to lash out? Right. So that they, it seems like that was part of what was going on. They had a whole bunch of stress that was going on in their lives. and they couldn't be kind at that moment, but you had created some safe space for them to be able to lash out, know it would be deleted, but also know that you would follow up. And I think that trust level is really important.
Yeah, I didn't appreciate all of those nuances at the time. My number one concern was to keep the tone of the whole
Right.
class positive and to take it offline
Sure.
as soon as possible. And then once I took it offline and just with that student, it did turn out that the student needed some support and support was offered,
Yeah.
So things, like I said, you never know what another person is going through, right? I mean, we can't assume that everybody is having a wonderful stay-at-home experience.
Right. Yeah, that would be bad to assume that.
I mean, everybody is struggling in different ways, and just the fact that we're all at home is stressful. So, so just giving people that benefit. And one thing that students have said, and I always, if I find out about any resources on campus or anything, I immediately send that information to my students, right?
Sure.
So if there's any kind of program to support students in any way, and sometimes I feel like I'm sending too much stuff, so here's the food pantry. Maybe you don't need it, but maybe somebody does, right?
Right.
So I always say, just take what applies to you and delete the rest, right? If you don't need to go to food pantry, that's fine.
Right.
But here they are, and they deliver. So
Nice.
Here is an offer for free Wi-Fi. Do you have Wi-Fi already? Awesome. Just delete it.
Right.
But students have commented on, how much they appreciated it, even if they didn't need it, that somebody was thinking about them, right? So, I mean, we're all children and we're all human beings, we all need to be taken care of and supported. It's just supporting people online is pushing us out of our day-to-day comfort zone. Right. But we can also reach more people. Because when you send an email or when you send a message online, you're putting it out to the whole class. You're not skipping anybody. I mean, even the people that wouldn't have been in class that day or the people that you don't think are very engaged, they're all getting it. So, I mean, I'm really liking this online thing. It's not, I mean, I know that a lot of chemists are very worried about the hands-on experience. I am too. But there is a very democratic feeling to the whole thing. Like we are reaching the masses in a way that maybe we could not be reaching them one-on-one, no matter how hard we try.
I like it.
There's something to be said for that.
Education for the masses.
Really, everybody can get the same information, right? I mean, sometimes we're elitist and we don't mean to be.
Right.
If you say something in class, the people that were not in class didn't hear it.
Right.
I mean, it's really as simple as that. So here's a trick for how to do this. If you were not in class that day, you didn't hear that trick. Right.
Recorded.
And we're very quick to judge people. Well, why weren't you in class? Things happen, stuff happens all the time. Or maybe you were in class and you were distracted.
Right. That's assuming you're paying attention all the time.
Exactly. And I don't pay attention all the time. I mean, I'm the first one to admit that my mind wanders, and I have to bring myself back. So, I mean, there's awesome. Something very beautiful about that online interaction, which is, and you can clean an online interaction up. You can edit a video, like you can edit this one, right? You can take out the not so cute things and the not so appropriate things.
Sure.
I mean, that's great. It's a better experience.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, it's like watching a TV show that has really been lovingly produced and curated and edited.
Right.
So enjoy it.
Right. Well, and it teaches them something.
Exactly.
So too, you could put up the unedited version and then put up the edited version and say, look, this is actually part of what you're going to have to do in your life, right? Yeah. Information literacy right there.
Exactly. So yeah, there's, I mean, I was, so the other day, Vicente Talanquer, who's a chemistry education researcher, did a seminar at the National University in Mexico. and somebody happened to send me the link. I listened to it, and he said it in Spanish, and it sounded much better in Spanish, but in English, what he said was that we can't afford to go back to the way we were teaching before this.
Yes.
I mean, even if we go back to being fully in person, fully all in the same room at the same time, we can't ignore the lessons that we learned from this, right?
Right.
And I think that's beautiful, because it means that this was not all for naught.
Right.
It was not an exercise in frustration and you know, deprivation. We learned so much.
Right.
So I think that we just need to take that and apply it if and when we go back in it. Anyway, I'm never going to go back and be the same person. You know, I really won't.
No.
And my classes won't be the same either. So we all have to learn. And that's why I get so frustrated when people keep insisting, no, we have to be in person, all together in the same room all the time.
Right.
That's a very old model now.
Right.
We have changed. We're different people, you know.
Right. And I actually have that. I've become much more, and I've done a lot more authentic assessment. That's what I'm into at the moment, right? I'm really into project-based or problem-based authentic assessment to some degree. And if I'm going to do like a problem that's a typical problem, then I'll ask them to explain it in words afterwards, because I love narratives. I was like, hey, you should do blogs as part of your learning experience.
But you know, whatever rocks your boat. But we can't go back to just giving people a multiple choice test and calling it a day.
Right.
We can't teach them as if the assessment is just going to be a multiple choice test.
Right.
Because we are different people and we know better, right? So when you know better, you do better.
We hope.
Absolutely. We are.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. I'm going to go ahead and stop the video, and we can talk some more.